now. And I gotta say, I have a little bit of a personal preference here as well in terms of decks, because Philipp has brought one of my beloved decks of the last couple of weeks. He brought the Apophis strategy, but he is mixing it up with the Primite cards, and that is something you haven't really seen that much yet. As you said, he likes to cook things up, and that is certainly a well dish that he has put together here. And he starts off with normal summoning the Ether Barrel. And usually when you see that, you would expect, yeah, blue eyes probably, but no, there's some other stuff about to come here.
To be honest, I want to see how the two engines mixed with each other and what's the synergy behind this.
Oh, and look at that, we're not searching the most common card, but that is a new card from Duelist Advance. It is Primite Fusion, and Yoho, as experienced as he is, he still has to take a quick read on this one, because that is not a particularly common card. And now I think we activate the other effect of Lordilo to special summon out a normal monster.
Oh, and that is so funny.
Chains
another one.
But wait, the driver's in hand, so that's 0 draws because the driver wasn't at the one moment you want to have the Cypher-in driver in hand. That's hilarious.
And that is just activate Primite Lordilo to discard two hands.
Yes!
2 cards from your opponent's hand. And at this point, I don't think you want to activate the Primite Fusion anymore.
And I mean, there's Apophis cards in your deck, so this may as well be very impactful trap cards that we have set there. So we're passing on this, and let's see whether it will be enough, because Yoho is on his recently most favorite strategy again, the Mitsurugi cards paired up with the Ryziels. And that is pre-preparation of rights. Is that a card you can let resolve? It's tough, but it will resolve in that instance here.
Yep. When it resolves, it's really hard. We were just saying, losing 2 cards in hand, that is of course a problem. But if you are starting with non-drolled Mitsurugi engine into a half field that Philipp has put up, that's really, really tough, because these cards tend to generate so much advantage.
I don't know if you even call this a half field, to be honest.
Yeah, I mean, you have 2 trap cards maybe.
With only 4 cards remaining to start Yoho's turn, one of them being pre-preparation of rights is massive, really. That is one of the cards you would want there, one of the cards you need there, and Yoho is already resolving his combo here. He revealed the Habakiri, the Saji's in the graveyard, and that is prayers for him now as well.
I mean, the Fuwalos, they did the job, right? You discarded 2 of them, but then you let your opponent end on absolutely nothing, so that's huge.
The ritual also resolves. I'm wondering what the set cards are for Philipp, because I feel like some of those things you really want to stop. Like if you had a Dominus Purge, you really immediately want to stop the pre-preparation of rights. If you had the Apophis trap card, somehow you also would like to interact with the ritual at the very least. But Philipp is not doing anything about all of that, so maybe he doesn't have anything to stop him here.
Kusanagi adding back the ritual. I like the Mitsurugi main deck monsters so much. Just, either they're normal summon starters or they're just going to get you. We're adding Futsu here for Aramasa, so really, really big Ryziel package here, Mitsurugi package. I find it very interesting that you can play the deck 2 entirely different ways. They're either minimizing on this Ryziel engine, sometimes even just playing 4 cards of the Ryziel strategy in the main deck, or sometimes just going for all of the Ryziel cards you can find and then just play 1 Murakumo, triple Habakiri, and the main deck monsters, basically.
No, Yoho is definitely taking the Mitsurugi route. You can also tell by his 3 copies of Mitsurugi Ritual in the main deck, for example. That's the maximum you can get, so he's really valuing that. But there's Infinite Impermanence dodged by the prayer that was actually known, and that immediately makes Philipp considering to pick up his... Oh, no, wait, we're resolving the Murakumo. I was also too quick on that one.
That happened to me so many times already as well.
Prayers was very well known there in the hand. Destroyed both of these now. And also got to bring back something, maybe?
Philipp doesn't look too happy. Basti, you have been very, very much eager to see the Primite Apophis deck. Why don't you tell us a little bit of what it's supposed to do?
I mean, you are supposed to end on multiple trap cards, as usually the Apophis deck already is doing. Like you have Stature of the Anguish pattern, which you usually are going to set through that, of course, so beloved Silhouette Rabbit, and then you have the Apophis traps being the Serpent and the Swamp Deity, and then you back it up even with those very, 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 very strong trap cards that you can play in this, because this is not only Purge anymore, but additionally to that, also Songs of the Dominators. And I mean, you can play Songs of the Dominators because the Primate engine is not really that impacted by it, and that card is bonkers, honestly.
Are those though the interruptions that you want to bring against Rise Mitsurugi deck? Meaning that I don't know if the Apophis cards are exactly what you want to bring against Mitsurugi engine.
Oh, and Philipp is packing up his cards. He's seen enough. That is too much value and also too much attack, to be honest, here to play in this game. Now, I'm quite curious, because when you're saying you're playing Man of the Mark and you're playing Aether Barrel,
Yes.
that is two normal summons that you really want to have.
Totally.
And you're not playing a Blue Eyes package with the Mausoleum of White that gets you another normal summon.
True, true.
How are you getting there?
I think there is still ways to somehow maybe go through one of those very, where is he again?
Is it either Duke of Demise or Nathan Berzelius?
Yeah, it is Nefer Berzelius, which you are going to use. So that is, we saw him search for Primite Fusion, but very understandably not activating it then, because the Fuvalos, of course, was
double
there.
Fuvalos.
So the double Fuvalos even, so it wasn't even something you would consider to really give your opponent 2 draws there. It felt like the perfect way to just summon the driver from the hand and then see, yeah, if he even just had 2 impactful trap cards. Like, imagine he had Dominus Purge for the pre-preparation of Rites. Yo is left with 3 cards. And then you also have maybe Apophis the Serpent, setting Apophis of Swamp Deity, and then you're kind of good to go, because you can stop another thing. That feels like it should be enough, but he didn't really have any of those other good trap cards alongside the things he had there already, so it was rough out there.
When pre-prepare resolves and you don't get draw, you are in a bad spot, to be honest.
Yeah.
And I think also it's kind of interesting that this deck, I feel like that's kind of a weak spot there, because if you are normal summoning Man with the Mark, because he had Anubis the Last Judge in hand, so that was technically possible. I think you're in a decent spot if your opponent Fualos you. You have your Temple of the Kings. You can just basically start playing. You set another card. You gain so much advantage. You search for the Beast of Circuit, and then you give maybe 1 draw, but for the deity. But if you're kind of forced to start with your Primite engine, that sounds like it could become problematic.
I think, yeah, I'm wondering which is the normal summon you want to go for first, but it's probably the Primite things that get you to then also get out the Apophis things. But maybe we can find out now in the second game, as players are ready again. Maybe this game is going to go better for Philipp and his Apophis Primite strategy. We shall find out. Back to the table we go. Judge. Maybe Anubis, the last judge, is going to be in his opening hand here. I'm calling for a judge in that opening hand, please.
I mean, it was there in the last hand, didn't get into play. Oh, this is looking like a hand already. Oh, wow. This is a hand.
Indeed it is, but let's see. Maybe Yoho has things to counter it. We start off with Treasures of the Kings, and what a field spell that is. I really fell in love with that card, because just both effects of it are actually just crazy, because you get to immediately, on the activation, as we are now going to see, set one of your Apophis trap cards from the deck, and we do, of course, go for the more powerful one, Apophis the Serpent, because that then is also going to get us through this, to the Swamp Deity eventually. And now, if we get another set card there, we can also activate the Surge effect of the field spell too, to search for either the Man with the Mark, for the Scorpion, or for Anubis the Last Judge.
No response to that on the side of you, so that's also quite interesting. Maybe we're going to respond to Man with the Mark. Added to the hand. There he is.
The man.
The myth.
The myth.
The legend.
The Mark.
And to be honest, you didn't know that Philipp was in Apophis.
That's true.
Yeah, that's a shocker for sure. If you are not familiar with that strategy, Man with the Mark is being normal summoned. Ash Blossom there, so normal summon was committed. I see why you waited there. Also quite interesting, the Man with the Mark, it's a card, it's just a level 4 monster with 1000 attack points. Really hard to out.
It is, but that's all we got. Sets one more card, so we know about Apophis the Serpent. And then there's more, but we shall see whether it is enough to counter this. We activate Habakiri once more. That's so strong of a start for Yoho right away. Is there any way to counter this? We probably got to bring out the Saji again here.
And this just plays so well around Domino's Purge. It's incredible.
But it doesn't play around Mistaken Arrest. Ooh.
Yeah, but does your deck play around Mistaken Arrest?
That's what I'm also wondering.
You really have to rely on this card now. Hope that it carries you through the turn, that you doesn't do anything against it. And then Philipp has the ability to go for Apophis the Serpent, set a Swamp Deity, special summon that out as well, and then go for the Deity.
And I mean, what's also cool is the Man of the Mark, it's not that easy to clear because clearly it cannot be destroyed by battle right now because there is Treasures of the Kings on the field, so that makes it pretty tough to deal with. And I mean, we're cutting Philipp's deck right now, so I feel like Yoho might have just passed it back over, and that is fantastic news for Philipp because that Mistaken Arrest really putting a mistake into Yoho's plan there, and there is now the Serpent, and that is not a small card in terms of attack points because that is 1600 right away, and when the Swamp Deity, and there it is, comes joining it eventually, that's another 2000, so we're racking up attack points here quickly.
But I mean, you can't activate the effect of Temple of the Kings. Mistaken Arrest prohibits you from searching in your turn as well. But I think you can just play around Nibiru, just set up more of these cards. I think a Divine Serpent is worth a draw.
It's worth it. It's
100%.
You probably go into the battle phase first, just because it's more attack points, but I do agree with you that you probably just, for that one draw, want to go for it. Yep, we are in the battle phase. That is 4600, so I think Yoho has more than half of his life points wiped out by that battle phase.
That would be crazy versus Melis, huh?
Yeah.
This would be substantial damage already. I mean, with 3400, they can still play quite a bit, especially if they have GWC.
Philipp does agree, goes into his extra deck, and that is a Contact Fusion, as we like to call it, going into Divine Serpent Apophis without any kind of fusion spell, but just using 2 Apophis traps. And now, the cool thing about this card is it gets to set back up to 3 Apophis trap cards from the graveyard, and therefore we have them available again for the next turn. And that's so huge, because now you have the Swamp Deity, but the Apophis Serpent ready to bring out another one again, and we give another draw going into the Silhouette Rabbit now as well.
That is quite interesting, but you gotta be honest, the Statue of Anguish Patterns is so good. If this card isn't outed, there's basically nothing that can play through it. I thought I could play through it with my...
Another set card! Trap cards are back, baby! 5 sets, and Philipp ready to stop Yoho once more.
I mean, I thought I could play through it with my X-Ryziel, but it can just not be targeted once you have another face-up trap monster on the field, and that is insane.
The statue is really a statue, in the true meaning of the word.
I'm gonna be honest. You could have prevented this one by just summoning out the Apophis the Serpent immediately and then activating a Swamp Deity
you're
later
fine.
on.
You can just activate... You have a Swamp Deity already.
At this point, Habakiri cannot activate again the effect because it's one.
true,
Yeah. So we have the Swamp Deity just chain... Oh, we chain the statue, alright.
Yeah, that makes more sense.
Yeah, absolutely, that works. Negates the pre-preparation, but still Yoho has a decent amount of cards to work with here.
Yeah, but Habakiri doesn't do anything anymore.
But that doesn't work anymore, and Philipp takes game number 2 with the Primite Apophis strategy. And again, not a fantastic start, you would say, but Mistaken Arrest is a card that is there for a reason, that a lot of Malus players are playing. It's even strong enough for him to consider playing it. And I mean, there is where the Primite part of his deck puts in the work, right? When you activate Mistaken Arrest and then you have a Primite card still running around and Ether Barrel just coming back, you're probably being fine there.
Even though if you activate Songs of the Dominators from hand, you can't activate effects in the graveyard anymore and in hand.
But when you go first, that's not that big of a concern, because then you just set the Songs of the Dominators anyways.
That is absolutely true. But later on, it just stops one effect of yours or 2. Or does Anubis the Last Judge activate in the graveyard, actually?
No, it doesn't.
Okay, but Aether Barrel does in the standby phase.
That's true.
So that is one downside. But I think you can live with that if you have this phenomenal hand trap. But if you're setting it, you're absolutely right. It doesn't stop you from doing anything.
I think the mini mind game that Apophis card wasn't shown during the first game played a very huge role in game 2.
For sure, I also agree. And I think this deck specifically, the Apophis deck here with the Psy frames in the main deck, they are really, really good now in game 3, even going second against those Mitsurugi strategies, because Psy frame get Delta really made a comeback on the big stage. Like, this card is really, really good.
I mean, was
and
it
is
ever
back in the
there?
Yeah, it really wasn't there just yet, but it is now. And it's so good against the Mitsurugi cards. Just negating Mitsurugi prayers, mostly negating Mitsurugi ritual. That is a powerhouse of a card. Just destroying it, making your opponent not able to maybe activate the card again or something. And then also having like the dream scenario of having a trap card in the graveyard already. For example, you Imperm first, then you Songs of the Dominator, Surge, Purge as well. Like, how are you going to recover from that? That feels like Imperm and Altergeist Multifaker together, to be honest.
That is true. That was a combination that sometimes won your game, sometimes it actually didn't. It wasn't always enough. But this, for sure, hand traps that replace themselves and add more hand traps. And then you have those powerful one-card combos that you're having there, like Aether Barrel, like Lordy Load, or just like Man with the Mark. Treasures of the Kings, Anubis the Last Judge. Countless cards that will get you where you want to be if uninterrupted. I think our duelists are ready and we want to be in Game 3, so let's go over to the table.
Entering Game 3 right now, and I want to see how Primate Apophis can manage to go second against Ryzel Mitsurugi, because there is an issue with a lot of traps being drawn.
Yeah, and Ryzel Mitsurugi, that is the deck that basically, if it combos off, it looks like it can't be beat. The full field of the deck is just absolutely insane. And now you starting with X-Send Aggregator. Philipp just gives a thumbs up. That's, I don't think, what he feels in his heart. But he was just like, oh yeah, let's get the combos rolling.
All right, searches for Node Ryzel, interestingly enough.
Might have a sword.
There is the sword already, indeed. So the good thing is when you start with your Ryzel cards, there's an easy way to also get to your Mitsurugi cards, of course, with King of the Feral Imps, and therefore Yoho has everything he would ever need here to really go for as big of a combo as he would ever
And he
imagine.
starts checking for hand traps. For example, he checked for draw, and he can continue right now, and probably a Fualos also.
Yeah, absolutely. There comes the Habakiri. He immediately went for the King of the Feral Imps, and you can really tell that Yoho is so experienced with the strategy.
Yeah.
He knows what he's doing. He knows every move, and it goes by quickly because he has been doing those combos for quite a while. As I was saying, he was actually on this deck, but not a lot of people were on it. Before actually Habakiri was even released, he was already summoning Murakumo at YCSs and doing well with it. So he was really on there on the first wave immediately, and he's riding that wave since then.
And at this point, a lot of Mitsurugi cards have resolved, which gives a lot of advantage to you. And I think it also gives him a lot of confidence.
Just if you get to resolve those Mitsurugi cards and your opponent doesn't stop them yet, I feel like this is a little bit like Malice. It has to be stopped immediately with a Droll and Lockbird or with Fuolos to just keep it in check. A little bit Fuolos, not even that impactful. Once you start to resolve your cards, especially in the Ryzel Mitsurugi deck, you're good to go. It's really hard to overcome that field. We haven't seen that at all in the playoffs yesterday. This is what really surprised me, because I think that this deck can put up the best field in the game right now, by far.
Definitely. At least when it comes down to what is immediately present on the field, right? The scary cards. Like, it is pulling up multiple monsters really that are immediately scary to you, that also are providing negation through Ryzel Cross often enough. Then you have, of course, that Murakumo ready to just destroy all cards on your opponent's side of the field. I think the Malice field also is super strong. It just doesn't look as strong immediately, right? But there's so much coming throughout the turn. But when you do see this combo field from this deck here, it is very, very, very much one of the best fields you could imagine.
And you have like 20 cards in hand afterwards.
Yeah.
I mean, that's the same with the Malice deck, right? When you resolve your Chessy Cat, even though I don't think we've ever seen a Chessy Cat resolve, it's always a permanence.
And another thumbs up from Philipp. Also, Ice Ryzel will be bringing another monster to the field here.
We're playing a little into Nibiru, not much to be honest, because Murakumo would still be able to summon itself.
And
Habakiri would be able to.
Both of them.
No, Murakumo was actually used to summon out the Habakiri from deck. So Murakumo summoned
has
itself back.
already be activated the effect.
Yeah, Habakiri hasn't, so you just summon it back, add prayers, and then you still have interruptions.
And yeah,
But I believe this is the last check that you has to take in order to summon Duo Drive and see if Philipp has any Nibiru.
Goes for
even
Dugaris
Dugaris.
first. Interesting. And I mean, it's overall very, very different on how people approach the extra deck of the Ryze strategy, or the Ryze Mitsurugi strategy rather, because some people opt to go for rank 8s even, to have like more linking between the two engines, for example, making sure that 2 level 8 monsters brings you into Ryzeal engines sometimes as well, by searching 7th Tachyon. That's very popular. It's not something that Yoho is doing. And then there's also, of course, all kind of different options in the level 4 and rank 4 rather department. And even some link monsters here in the deck from Yoho, which aren't necessarily obvious because you're very often just trying to go down the rank 4 route, as we see another rank 4 here with the Eclipse Twins. But there even is IP Masquerena and SP Little Knight in Yoho's extra deck.
Just an extra layer of power on your end field here. We're going to see a Mitsurugi.
He has been
Murloc.
locked to Exige, I believe, since he summoned next.
Yeah, that's true. So sometimes when you're starting with your Ritual engine, then you can play an IP Masquerena on your field before you activate or normal summon your Ice Ryzeal.
Absolutely. That does often enough come up, and I think it just into certain matchups you also just value that so hard. And there is now also the Great Purification. The field will look even greater than it usually would be in game number 1.
Habakiri doesn't come back.
No Ryzeal. Oh yeah, you're right. Now Eclipse Twins will be sent off the Node Ryzeal to bring back another monster from the graveyard. And of course Eclipse Twins will now also activate. And that's going to bring back the Dugaris maybe? Or the King of the Pharaoh Limbs? What are we going for? I don't think it really matters that much, right? Because you're not going to use them anyhow.
He can activate again the effect of King of the Swamp.
Oh, King of the Pharaohs, yeah, sure.
That's true. You can search for another reptile, even though I think you're basically through all of them.
Yeah, you almost don't want to search them anymore because you want to have search targets for Murakumo later on, but still, well, yeah, he may.
I mean, search targets for Murakumo is going to be Prayers or something. You can get your follow-up there. I think the only card left in the deck might be Habakiri, to be honest, because we've seen Saji, we have seen Aramasa, and we have seen Kusanagi.
Yeah, you're right.
You also make less room in the deck, so you can draw into your hand traps and side deck options.
That is true. I just like how the King of the Pharaohs is absolutely chilling on the field. With no business being there.
Detonator puts the Eclipse Twins underneath, so it's protecting itself sorta as well. 1 set card, 2 set card, 3 set cards. That is something to worry about for Philipp, but I think it marks the end of Yoho's turn at least, so now we can try. What will Philipp be able to do here?
Man with the marks the end of his turn. Can man with the mark on Philipp's side just swing this
Going
game
second,
back to him?
I guess the full Ryzeal Mitsurugi field with only traps, and
Yeah.
I don't know how Philipp can feel right now.
Detonator is already a big problem, has always been for the Apophis deck. The deck based on Marik's performance at the Battle City tournament.
And
No,
now
it wasn't Marik.
the judge was called.
Odeon.
Indeed it was, yeah. And there is the man with the mark. But it really feels like Philipp just has all kind of different Apophis cards, and I don't even see any Primite cards really in his hand. And I think that's what in theory makes his deck so strong, that he wants a combination of those two things. And wait, he actually does have one of the Primite cards, but that's the one that doesn't work on its own because he did pick up the Drill Beam.
Yep. And now
And that is all it needed. And there we see the hand, puts it onto the table. That is not something you really want to see going second. Just double Swamp Deity is nothing you want to use going second. And therefore, Yoho is on his way to maybe go back to the World Championship, as he's still undefeated in this tournament right now.
I mean, we have just finished round
Couple
2,
more
but
rounds.
still, he's very, very close already. Philipp, of course, early losses in those tournaments, they are crucial. There's sometimes, of course, there's always like this one story where someone lost an early round and then
But
goes
with a
to
very
the top
unique
cut.
strategy, to be honest.
That's true.
That is true, and actually not even that unique, because I've heard of multiple players in this tournament playing it and trusting the strategy, even though we absolutely could not see what it was supposed to do.
Not really. I would have loved to see more because, I mean, game 2, he won, but also kind of carried by the mistaken rest, we gotta say. And it really never got to show how the combination of the two engines do work together.
I still don't know what the Primate engine is doing there.
I mean, the drill beam is strong as long as you draw it alongside some other Primite cards.
That is true. And we've seen Driver summon from hand. That was amazing.
That was funny, yeah.
And I just
on the start it felt like a very good move in order to play around the double Fugalus, but as we saw, it stopped at Tarrelly Field's turn, and so you could take the win.
Yeah, I mean, if you just resolve all your Mitsurugi cards without a problem, then you don't need 6 cards in hand. You can start with 1, and if that 1 card is pre-preparation of rights and you never get stopped, then it's pretty good.
It will definitely do the trick for sure. So that's interesting. You just mentioned only 2 rounds so far. He is 2-0 at the moment. Couple of players, of course, mostly the ones you saw yesterday already, they are also 2-0 in the tournament because we, of course, have VIPs here in the tournament. Those are the 16 players from our playoff yesterday, and also all of our national champions from all those different national championships we had in Greece, in Germany, wherever. They have been chilling until now because they will be joining the action from round 3 on, being on that 2-0 record. What do you think? Is that massively like changing the way you build your deck, just skipping those first 2 rounds, or is it still the same kind of?
To be honest, when I had my VIP 2 round
play, flexing. Okay. Tell us all about it.
That I didn't have to worry about more rogue strategies, meaning I could dodge cards like Duster or Cosmic Cyclones and prepare my deck for more meta decks, since I would expect more in the 2+ area, 2-0 area.
When I had my VIP...
Okay, guys, good. All right, go ahead, go on.
When I had my VIP, I still had to play the first round, and I was playing...
Wow, what a VIP treat.
I was playing Gookie, and I lost to Burning Abyss because I couldn't play in the first few rounds, so I just had no play at all, and that lost to be.
I love that story. Thanks for telling. Thanks for sharing.
I just wanted to mention that you're the only person on this table who hasn't had VIP treatment
yet.
Yet. Exactly. Yet.
I mean, I played the Apophis deck at French National. That was so much fun. That's why I also wanted to have it back on stream, and that's why I enjoy it so much at the moment, because I think it brings something different to the format again, because there is not that many trap-based strategy at the moment, but this deck now is really bringing the traps back. Unfortunately enough, though, sometimes when you go second, drawing those trap cards is not necessarily what you want to do, and which also cost Philipp the game sort of there. But you can definitely, it's a combination of both things. It's not only a trap deck, but also has combo elements, I would say. So it's good to see that
gets you more traps
back. Yeah, that are getting you more traps in the end. Really, I mean, the fusion is crazy, isn't it? Just setting back those trap cards. Like the first time I did that, I felt like, I don't know, I was like a puppet magic or.
And it's also giving you an extra interruption, because when you activate a trap card that becomes a monster, then you actually get to destroy 1 card on the opposing side of the field.
Very true. Yeah, that's super strong. Wasn't strong enough here for this featured match, but still Yoho, of course, no opponent to sneeze at, because he is absolutely one of the most powerful players we have here in all of Europe. I still remember the moment he qualified for the World Championship with his Labyrinth deck, I think, and then in top 4 when he just played against Jessica Robinson and the Happiest Feather Duster into hand. That was the quickest game of Yu-Gi-Oh! I've ever seen.
And then the World Championships where he played the feature match again and got dustered on for it. It's
story of his life. Yeah, story of his life. Really, that's insane. But overall, a deck that definitely can make it, right? Is that a deck you think you picked to get to top 4 of this tournament?
Apophis?
No, the Rising Mitsurugi strategy.
Yes. I was going to say the Apophis, no. but Rising Mitsurugi is definitely one of the top dogs. I think if people are actually adapting from that tournament we've seen yesterday and they drop Drone Lockbirds in the main deck, the deck just has a field day. But we want to hear more about Yuhu's An's day, so let's go over to the analyst.
Thank you, Leo, and yeah, what a match it was. Congratulations on yet another amazing performance on stream. And yeah, I mean, this great start to the day, I'd say. I mean, as good as it gets. And first and foremost, how do you feel being here in Germany, trying to get there once more?
Well, I think it's really nice. It's Germany again since I live here, so it's a pretty short trip here.
Absolutely. And obviously you're rocking that World Championship shirt for this event. We all remember very well your journey to Japan 2 years ago, and I'm sure you'll try your best to get there once more. Although it has been with quite a different strategy, and we've been mentioning, and you know, Seb was going through that you have played this deck for quite a while, even before the latest support was released. What do you like about it?
I think it's like it has so many starters, they're all good, so the deck's really consistent, and every starter usually does everything. and it plays through so many disruptions.
Absolutely. I mean, and arguably, I mean, Malice might have more recursion later on, but like in terms of explosiveness and ending field, I'd say it's superior by far, if no draw.
Yeah.
So hopefully no draw for you. But yeah, let's just go through what happened in this match. Obviously, you got paired against one of the, not more conventional strategies. And I think in this opening, something quite funny happened. Because usually you open your hand, the first card your opponent picked up was the driver. This time it turned out like it was a good draw since, you had that double Fuvalos. I think you were expecting to play against Blue Eyes when you saw the Primats, or?
I actually heard before already that he's playing the Odium strategy, but I haven't read any of the cards before that, so I was quite unsure how it's gonna go.
Okay, fair enough. But yeah, in the end, I mean, although it looked like that -2 technically Fuvalos was a right star for you, the engine just does so much when it's not stopped, and you were able quickly to just. Let's just make your play speak for herself. Just completely dismantle your opponent field. That impermanence didn't do quite much. What was your strategy in mind going through the turn?
So I was basically seeing like there can't be that much if there's 2 sets and I have full engine. So I was just trying to see how far I get. And I was just trying to start with the meter engine, see how far I get, clear the board, and if he doesn't have anything relevant, I just go for game.
Yeah, absolutely. And I mean, it did work out in this one. The opening again was a bit on the slower side from Philipp. What do you think generally is the worst matchup for your deck? Like, what do you not want to play against this weekend?
If I only see Mitsu cards and don't really get to stop my opponent from doing anything, it's probably Vanquish Soul can be quite hard.
Okay.
Since the board is always protected from the start, and then the Snow Devil can't pop anything. So if they have full engine and also backed up by 1-2 non-engine, can get quite rough.
Absolutely, but we see a quite different game too, because the opening was a bit on the slower end once more from your opponent, but backed up by some strong non-engine, because they see that mistaken arrest, which has to be one of the contenders when you think about side decks that you can be facing off, right? Against absolutely withdrawal and lock. And then I think something interesting, at least for me, was again, I think we all, I mean, at least I remember very well your run back 2 years ago, and you were the one who was, setting 5 traps and passing, but you were on the other end in this case, right? What were you thinking facing down 5 trap cards here?
5 traps in general is usually fine, but then I look at my hand, it's 2 Abakiri, pre-prep, notes, Fuva, and then top deck the trap. So if the one play doesn't go through and then he's mistaken arrest, so I kind of have to pass back.
Yeah, absolutely. And I mean, there was not too much that you could do. He decided to give you a couple draws through the Fuvalos, but unfortunately didn't pick up much. And so for the one, it was, you losing 2 the trap cards, for an instance. But then finally, in game 3, you get to open a Ryziel card. We didn't see any of that before. And that was quite an interesting field that you came up with, right? Is that your usual goal when you open everything?
If I start with X, it's usually around that. I pass on the Detonator with Eclipse Twins, Futsu, Murakumo, Trap. Ideally, I'll also have Prayers, but this time I didn't get to it. But if he nips me there, I still have Futsu at the Prayers, I still have Detonator with Eclipse Twins, and then, I just went for Dugara, so I just get to deep draw into my non-engine.
Absolutely. I mean, when you go first, you don't get Fuvalos or draw, I think. There is not much that other decks can do, no matter what you're facing off against. But I mean, you gave us a demonstration of what the deck can do for sure. And I think we just want to thank you once more for showing at what the deck can do. Unfortunately, it didn't shine that much at the playoffs. Not sure if that was any worrying at all for you, or did you change anything after the playoffs?
I was originally on Vanquish Soul when I got here on Thursday.
Okay.
I kept playing against friends. I kept bricking, so I was I'm not gonna play that one.
Fair enough, and it's working out for you. So we'll just wish you best of luck and no draw and locks for the event. So hopefully we'll see you again in Top Cut. So thank you guys for the analysis, and let's throw it back to the casters.